This is the aftermath of fighting between rival ethnic groups in the district of Churachandpur. Dozens have been killed in the violence since Thursday and many others are injured. Yang Choi-ching worked as a nurse and was treating the wounded.
After performing her duty on her way back home, she seems to encounter the mobs and she was shot there at that moment and died.
Tension between the majority Meitei and minority Kuki tribal communities has escalated since February. That's when the state government started a drive to evict some Kuki people from their houses, saying they had encroached on protected forests.
It's not something that starts in a spur of a moment. This is the tribals were long oppressed, like the dominant community, the Meitei community, has been in various ways denying the tribal their rights under the constitution, as well as those that development funds that are entitled for the tribal.
Existing fault lines have been widened by the coup in neighbouring Myanmar. Thousands of refugees sharing ethnic ties with tribal groups in Manipur have crossed over, and Meitei groups are accusing Kukis of sheltering illegal immigrants.
We are protesting here not to fight with other communities. We want to live in peace. But if people want to dominate us, we will not remain silent.
The army has been deployed to calm the violence. A curfew and a shoot-to-kill order have been put in place. Siobhan Silk, Al Jazeera.
Dhiren Sadokpam is the editor-in-chief of the Frontier Manipur. He's with us on the phone from Bishnupur. Thank you for joining us. What's behind the surge in this recent violence?
Marlon, as the report that you have just given, you have just shown just now, has said that it is a fight between the so-called majority. When I say so-called, because the majority Meitei constitute just about slightly more than 50% of the population of the entire Manipur. And you know, Manipur has basically three broad ethnic groups called the Nagas, the Kukis, who are clubbed as the scheduled tribe, in the Constitution of India, which has their own set of reservations and affirmative actions and positive discriminations all rolled into one. And another ethnic group called the Meitei, who is considered the majority by being more than 50% of the population. So as the package story that we have just shown says that there have been some kind of a conflict of interest between various groups in Manipur. And, you know, the region have been prone to armed conflict for over a decade or so, over 5-7 decades now. But the recent incident happened because the state government had notified that they would be evicting the population who are encroaching upon the protected and reserved forests, which has been identified by the government of Manipur. But what happens is, in some of these reserved forests and protected forests, this Kuki ethnic group, which is what we have termed them as minority tribe, but they are one of the broad ethnic group here. It says some of their tribe members who are also indigenous, but there are also non-indigenous people who have crossed over from Myanmar. So most of these tribes who have crossed over from Myanmar, and through the ages, it's not only the recent military takeover in Myanmar, but also because of various factors that have crossed over to India. So we have occupied these areas
just to pick you up on that. Tell us a bit more about these migrants from Myanmar that are in the forest. I mean, what's brought them there, and why are they residing in the forests?
The recent migrants were due to what you call the military takeover in Myanmar. But before that, there had been a series of migrants flowing out of Myanmar because of economic factors, the push and pull factors, economic factors. It could be possible that. But the fact is, this Chin Kuki group, they also have their ethnic they are of the same people who stays in the other side of the border, international border. So sometimes when those Myanmar nationals come over there because they share the same language and culture, it's very difficult for the government of India as well as government of Manipur to identify who are the immigrants, illegal immigrants who have come into Manipur. But that is one of the backdrop of the whole situation. So, but majority of the media, as I can understand, has been reading the conflict as if it is Hindu versus Christians or tribal versus non-tribals. But as I said, it has its origin in the conflict over what you call the occupation of reserved and protected forest, which is identified by the government of India. But then there have been arguments put forth from the Kuki community, that is those so-called minority Kuki community, who have argued that some of these villages which had been identified by the government of Manipur had been there for since ages, and they do not fall as they are not the residents, are not the illegal immigrants.
Right.
So there has been some kind of a differences between that. But if I remember, it was the BJP MLA, from the same tribe who had raised this issue on the floor of the assembly in Manipur and also highlighted the plight of these tribals who are, who had been evicted from the forest.
Right.
But then government of Manipur, also supported by the central government, because the forest minister, the union forest minister, the federal government of India's minister who had come down to Imphal said that the government of Manipur has every right to take any actions so long as it's protecting reserve forest and protected forests. But then,
just to interrupt,
yeah.
so I know, so in recent months we've seen all this violence erupt, and we know thousands of security forces have been deployed. I mean, where do you see things going? Will the army be able to calm things down?
Marlin, there have been no major incidents of violence reported in the last one day, that is last 24 hours, or maybe as I speak now. But till day before yesterday, it was quite a thing. And reports come from various sources, particularly the mainstream media in Manipur, and the primary media in Manipur. They say that we have 54 people dead, and this dead, the bodies have been lying in morgues of various hospitals in Imphal and in Surshanpur district, and in Imphal, the 2 hospitals in Imphal, and 2 hospitals in Imphal and another in district hospital in Surshanpur district. But the violence began from the Surshanpur side. So once the violence began, then it spilled over to Imphal, the capital city, and so it's been spread to, as I said, more or less, into almost how many districts? There are a few districts, that is Imphal, Imphal East. These are 2 districts. Imphal has 2 districts, Imphal East and Imphal West. Then you have Surshanpur, then you have Tengnoupol, another district, then you have Kangpopi districts. And also the district from where I reside, is called Bishnupur district, also has been affected. But with the declaration of, with the center sending of forces, additional forces by the center, because I think apparently the center is the New Delhi government has invoked Article 355 of the Constitution, which basically means the union government, that the federal government can intervene in the affairs of the state government so long as it protects the state from external aggression and internal differences. So if you understand these 2 sentences, external aggression and internal differences, so it has both the elements, as I was speaking about the illegal immigrants as well as the thing. So with the arrival of the forces, I think the conflict has more or less died down, but the tension is palpable all around, and the tension still continues to prevail.
Darren, thank you. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but we understand the gist of what you've been talking about. Thank you so much. Darren Sadokpam, Editor-in-Chief of the Frontier Manipur, speaking to us there on the phone from Bishnupur.